That is coming up, of course, in the next hour on ABC. Breaking news into SportsCenter here on ESPN. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that free agent James Harden and the Sixers have agreed to a one-year deal for $33 million and a player option for a second year, which will pay him over $35 million. He previously turned down a one-year player option of $47 million to give Philly flexibility to add some players during the free agent process. Harden struggled in the playoffs as the Sixers lost in the second round. He averaged 22 points per game while also chipping in over 10 dimes. The third season in his career, he's averaged 20 and 10. The only player to do that more than Harden since his NBA debut is Russell Westbrook. Woj, who broke this story moments ago, joining us now on SportsCenter. And Adrian, this was an expected move here for Philly after Harden opted out of his $47 million player option here. What's unexpected, though, is this idea of a one-year deal coming back and then the one-year player option. What more can you tell us about this decision?
Right, Kevin. 2 years, $68.6 million, I'm told. The first year of that deal, $33 million. So that allows James Harden, he could decline that player option again next summer and negotiate another new deal that might also be cap friendly for the Sixers. But what James Harden, by opting out, declining that $47 million player option, allowed them to do, PJ Tucker at the mid-level exception, Daniel House at the biannual exception, DeAnthony Melton, who they acquired from Memphis in a trade. And then it allows Philadelphia some cap flexibility once the season gets going, prior to the trade deadline, to make some deals. So for James Harden, certainly financially, he helped Philadelphia. Now, listen, the Sixers will want him to be in great shape when he returns to training camp in the fall. And this is a player who's made almost, with this deal, $275 million in his career. But James Harden, he spent a lot of time talking with Daryl Morey, the organization, about wanting to win, about doing what he felt could be his part with that, declining the option. So now 2 years, $68.6 million, and again, a $33 million guaranteed salary for the coming season.
It's been a big week for James Harden, of course, because he introduced the new wine out there for the public, and now he gets this deal here, Woj. Now, moving forward, there's this window here for Joel Embiid in trying to win a championship. Are the Sixers done heading into the rest of the offseason after this deal?
I think so, Kevin. This is a team that certainly, you saw the move. We mentioned in free agency the DeAnthony Melton trade on draft night. And again, you've seen this, an organization, a general manager in Daryl Morey, who's always active ahead of the trade deadline. I think this is a team who thinks they can compete for the Eastern Conference Championship. Certainly, again, they need a better James Harden, a healthier James Harden, a better conditioned James Harden back next season. Certainly, there's hope he's going to play at a higher level, more consistently than he did for the Sixers last season. But I think there's confidence that he'll be able to do that he's getting in the kind of shape he'll need to be this offseason. It is different when you start advancing in your 30s and the way you have to take care of your body. But certainly the relationship between James Harden and this Philly organization, the history he has with Daryl Morey, their president, basketball operations, Tad Brown, their CEO. I think that certainly played a role in the trust here in working together, declining the option, and now a new 2-year, $68.6 million deal for James Harden.
I can tell you, too, to your point, with the playoff struggles in a matter of 3 months now, he's very popular in Philadelphia, taking this pay cut to give this team the flexibility to bring in other players. Woj, we appreciate it. Thank you.
So like I said, welcome to NBA Today, and we have a fabulous panel for you today. We have Dave McMenamin joining, Kendrick Perkins, and Zach Lowe. But where we need to start is with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook, because over the weekend, Adrian Wojnarowski, our senior NBA insider, reported that Russell Westbrook has parted ways with his longtime agent. So I want to contextualize that, what it means for the Lakers, for our viewers. So bringing in Dave McMenamin now. Dave, what exactly does this mean? Why should Lakers fans see this as noteworthy?
Well, Malika, and I have the statement here from Thad Fouché, it's kind of a rarity in our business to see something this in-depth when a client leaves his representation, but I'll read it off this full screen here. The marketplace is telling the Lakers they must add additional value with Russell in any trade scenario. And even then, such a trade may require Russell to immediately move on from the new team via buyout. My belief is that this type of transaction only serves to diminish Russell's value and his best options to stay with the Lakers. To read between the lines here, it's clear that Thad Fouché, his longtime, now former agent, has been trying to work behind the scenes to find a deal for Russell to move to a fourth team in 4 years. It hasn't happened up to this point, and so Thad is telling Russ as his parting note that your best bet is to stay with the Lakers, and basically calling the Lakers bluff, because we've heard all the right things said by Darvin Ham thus far, telling us that Russell Westbrook will have a major role on this team. He told Mark Spears of Anscape he will still be the starter. But at the same time, while those comments have been made, Rob Pelinka has been working behind the scenes for about a month in order to try to find a trade scenario for Russ. And so what this means at the end of the day is that we'll see if Russ signs another agent that can help facilitate such a deal.
Yeah.
Someone with ties around the league and can leverage those relationships. But we're still at a stalemate.
So let's bring in the rest of our panel. Zach Lowe, hello, and Kendrick Perkins. Zach, what do you make of this breakup?
It's certainly noteworthy, although it's been in the works for, I think, a long time. Like Dave said, the implication of Thad Fouché's statement was, Russ wants a trade. I don't think that's best for him. Immediately after that statement came out, some damage control was done. The LA Times reported that Russ, and others reported that Russ has never asked for a trade, never requested a trade. Then there were reports from Chris Haynes at Yahoo that Russ, AD, and LeBron got on a little bit of an old school conference call, dialed up the landlines, I guess, and had a sort of detente about we're all together, we're still together. That all seemed like damage control to me. The underlying implication was there seemed to be some tension between what Russ wanted, what Darvin Ham wants, what the Lakers want. And to me, all of that tension is still in the air. We have 2 months before camp. We'll see if Russ is on the Lakers by then.
Well, so it was really interesting, particularly what you said about that phone call that Yahoo reported, because I was at Summer League, Dave was at Summer League. We all went to Summer League, and we saw Russ on the other end of the court when LeBron James was also there watching the Lakers. Perk, you played with Russ. What exactly is at stake, do you think, this upcoming season for him?
It's a lot. And I'm not talking about his past. Listen, we already know that Russell Westbrook is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. We already know that Russell Westbrook, in my eyes, is a top 25 greatest player to ever play the game of basketball. But when it comes down to this particular moment, and it comes down to Russell Westbrook coming into this particular season and looking into the future, this is a make-or-break moment for Russell Westbrook. And when I see it, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look, Russ, this season right here is going to determine your future. And when I say the future, I mean we could really witness Russell Westbrook go from making $47 million to $48 million a year, being one of the highest paid guys in the league, to actually playing for a veteran minimum if he don't show the rest of the NBA that he's willing to sacrifice, that he's willing to put his pride aside, that he's willing to take a lesser role. If Russell Westbrook could come out and be efficient, take a lesser role, put his pride aside, then guess what? He's going to extend his future. He's going to get a bigger payday than a veteran minimum. But if not, he's treading in deep waters. And look, Russell Westbrook could possibly be out the league if he's not careful and not put his pride aside.
Dave?
And Perk, I reported this last year. A Eastern Conference executive compared Russell Westbrook to Allen Iverson to me and said that look at Iverson's path. He never really adjusted his game, changed his role, and expanded his game to work with the times. And all of a sudden, he goes from being one of the game's brightest stars, biggest names, to completely out of the league. And that is the precarious situation that Russell Westbrook finds himself in. And you mentioned, Perk, him trying to take a different role. I mentioned this on Zach's podcast yesterday, The Low Post, that I had sources telling me that the last coaching staff, led by Frank Vogel and the Lakers, they didn't believe that Russ would be able to accept that role. They thought they would lose him completely, perhaps have him be away from the team if they benched him or told him your job would be to come off the bench permanently. And so, again, that was a very measured decision by that coaching staff not to go that direction. We'll have to see now that Darvin Ham has already publicly told Mark Spears that Russell can be his starter. Can he go down that road and have Russ accept it coming off the bench?
All right, so that's Russell Westbrook. Let's flip it, reverse it, and pivot to LeBron James. The last time we saw him on the court in a Lakers uniform, it was April 1st, 38 points in a loss to the Pelicans. But this past Saturday, he was back on the court at